Hello and welcome back to All the Mods 6. I'm Wilder. A new day has dawned and finally my home is complete. This took me the better part of 12 hours. I know, I'm really slow. But wouldn't you know, after getting used to world edit and the like, placing things by hand actually takes a really long time. That said, when looked at from a distance, it actually looks kind of nice. Equipped with all the amenities of a comfortable home, and it's separate from all the factory materials I intend to work. I didn't want the effects of noise pollution to drag down my property value or to ruin my comfort here. Like I said, I've created a small island separate from everything I intend to build here, just to keep the distinction. That, and also I've noticed changes in the landscape. Even here detached from the island, there's still issues where the grass is turning more yellow, so I've had to put in artificial replacements to deal with the fact of probably what my pollution is causing. That said, I wanted it to look like a villa, you know, like a vacation home separate from everything else. So it's got palm trees, little gardens, everything's a bit spacious and open. I didn't intend it for it to be this wide, but either way, I suppose it's done now, it's finished, so grandiose it is. As you can see, I'm not the best at interior decorating, my study hasn't been furnished whatsoever, but there are many rooms here that are complete. At least those that are essential. I have my bed, I have a large great hall where I can go and relax by the fire and grab a book, an outdoor patio space that will lead onto a terrace once I've finally finished terraforming and getting rid of the yellow grass, a dining room equipped with golden candelabras, you know, just the bare necessities of life. This will be where my kitchen comes once I finally get that set up, as well as my pantry. I'll likely have to expand this. I know that seems ridiculous, but there are certain things that I'd like to have, like a conservatory, as well as an observatory, so I may create towers that extend out above here and above here. That said, I finally have a home and a nice place to sleep away from the factory machines that I intend to create, and now I'll go about showing you how I actually finished and created building this structure. When I first came to the island, the first thing I had to deal with was the mass of seasonal trees. These cluttered my view, and I wanted a blank canvas upon which to terraform. I constructed a large stone platform, vertically upwards, that I could expand on later. Now the layout for this stone platform was done based on a blueprint I did previously. You can't see the grid lines on the blue paper, but you can see the white outlines. These lay out perfect coordinates for where I wanted my home to be. I planned out thoroughly beforehand what I wanted to have in it, a kitchen, bath, bed, so on and so forth. From there, placing the red concrete was just a matter of copying down the tiles of the blueprint paper exactly. When I first started, I didn't know what baseboard I wanted, but I eventually settled on diorite, because it would create a contrast between the walls and the base I was creating for my home. The bricks themselves were another design choice. I wanted to use them both because they're normally kind of hard to obtain, clay is generally a bit of a hassle, and also the red color just stands out and is pretty on brand for my company. Building up the rest of the walls was a matter of interlaying bricks, terracotta, jungle wood, and granite, all mixed together in a near gradient and sort of variating fashion. This follows a tip of mine for building, that when you're creating walls, you don't want to leave 3x3 spaces all the same tile. Adding any variation in there will just make it more interesting to look at, even in the instance of having a flat box like I do here. Of course, having a flat box is a major issue, and one that I solve using sandstone as an ulterior frame instead of wood, which I would normally use in most builds. Building in this more modern sort of Victorian style requires different building materials. Originally I was going to use quartz, but I figured that the diorite baseboard and the general color scheme would work better with the sort of muted yellow that sandstone has. That concludes the footage of the time-lapse. The remaining steps were putting on the roof as well as laying the foundation with concrete and stone. The foundation was designed to feel almost industrial and imposing, which I contrasted with the heavily green and saturated colors of my little gardens. Hopefully that dichotomy sets an interesting tone. Now, as you can probably tell, that home took a large variety of materials, quite an extensive number of them given the sheer size and scale of it, and also its height in many of the walls. Now that said, I have quite an overabundance of many of the materials I used, This birch was actually from the island itself. I've completely cleared it of trees. That said, to actually get the remaining materials, I went back to mystical agriculture. I'm a little worried I'm becoming too reliant on this, but that said, it generated so many materials that I had no idea what to do with them. I couldn't rely on this alone to get the amount of clay needed, so I looked into dirt, fire, and water seeds to produce sand and clay in sheer numbers. I also put down quartz, wood, stone, and prismarine, as well as dye seeds. Many of these I didn't use as of yet, but will become useful once I start building the factory, as I'll need to begin mass producing concrete. As you can see, I've actually stopped the machine. It's no longer harvesting, just because this chest is filled up so many times. If I show you here, taking 3 stacks of this wood essence, which is produced near instantaneously, and then putting it in here, it generates just stacks and stacks of wood. I may need to... I don't even have room for it in here. Oh dear. Well, there you go. That's just another testament of how much it creates. So I may need to create a more efficient system of storage. In fact, that's what I'm going to be doing next time. But there you go. That's how I generate the materials. To get those prismarine seeds I showed you requires me to kill guardians, which of course requires an underwater ocean monument. Now, finding it was relatively simple. Those dungeons I raided previously gave me many treasure maps, and by my luck, one of them just so happened to be the ocean monument. But the first thing I wanted to show you was actually what my pack looks like. Both of my large backpacks fill every single time I go on one of these ventures. Without fail, they are completely filled with enchanted books, diamonds, tools, other such things, all of high importance and value. However, the most important are the artifacts I find. These rare baubles can be equipped and give you rare bonuses. For instance, the sapphire digging claws, which act as a multi-tool for your fist and increase the effective capability of all your other tools. Or the all-important crystal heart, which gives you 5 extra health. The last thing to show off is just me slaughtering the Elder Guardian. This temple gives you mining fatigue every time it goes boom, but it's completely eradicated by the mining gadget, which digs despite the fact that you have mining fatigue. Either way, he got completely owned. Fantastic. Truth be told, he's not the only one. There's actually 2 in here. So I'll conclude as I hunt down his brother. This episode was a bit of a shorter one, and also less formal than most of my undertakings. The house was a necessary detour, but next episode we'll be back on form, building a warehouse and getting proper storage set up with RF tools, so that I can prepare for excavating the earth. I want to get quarries set up and completely riddle the landscape with holes, so that I can have more and more materials with which to build my factory. On that cheerful note, I've been Wilder, and I will see you later.